gentlemen, we welcome you all to this seventh episode of Calcutta Management Association's Leadership in Turbulent Times. We have the pleasure and privilege to welcome the speaker of the evening, Mr. Vikrant Shrotriya. He is the managing director and corporate vice president of the internationally renowned pharmaceutical company, Novo Nordisk, the Indian part of it. And thank you, sir. Thank you for taking time off from your busy schedule and joining us in this webinar. Today's program will be moderated by Mr. Rajarshi Sarkar. He himself is the regional director of Novo Nordisk, and he is also a member of Calcutta Management Association. The structure of the program, as all of you know, Mr. Shrotriya will be delivering his talk for about half an hour or so. Thereafter, we will take questions from the viewers. All of you who are interested in posing questions may send your questions to the chat box. And we will conclude with the concluding remarks by the President of Calcutta Management Association, Mr. Amitabh Datta. Mr. Sarkar, it's over to you now.
Thank you, Mr. Raman. It is a proud privilege for us to be part of this meeting today. And Calcutta Management Association is one of the oldest management association in the country, starting its operation way back in 1957. And I'm a proud member of it. And very happy to see the various activities that you and your team conduct throughout the year, which is beneficial both for students and professionals alike. Today's topic is leadership in turbulent times. Few names that grips our mind in difficult times who provided us able leadership, extraordinary leadership, in fact, whether it is Nelson Mandela, Swami Vivekananda, Mahatma Gandhi, or Abraham Lincoln, or even Acharya Prafulla Chandra Ray. They have helped us fight poverty, discrimination, poor healthcare. Many of you who are today part of this meeting might be aware that Acharya Prafulla Chandra Ray was the first to set up the first pharmaceutical company in India, way back in 1901, when good medications were out of reach of common man, and he realized it, and he thus started the history of Bengal chemicals. And that's a great leadership. If we see that when severe health crisis and deadly diseases plague the world, pharma companies have always provided able leadership to the world, whether it is from the production of aspirin by Bayer way back in 1890, or production of insulin by Novo Nordisk in 1923. And all of you know that insulin is a life-saving drug. Whether it is the production of penicillin by Merck and Company, or production of drugs for cancer, as well as for AIDS. As all of you know that as the lockdown started in India, the country came to a standstill. In fact, the world came to a standstill. But few of the operations that went on happening was the chemist shops, the pharmacy shops, which we saw that they were open across the country. And it is these pharmaceutical companies that continue to provide uninterrupted supply of medicines and drugs to this chemist shop so that the patients don't suffer. And we in Novo Nordisk ensured this uninterrupted supply of insulin for the diabetic patients, even in these turbulent times. And that was great leadership. Or else there had been one more crisis in the country, which we helped in everything. With this, I'd like to introduce Mr. Vikrant, who will share with us his insights. Just to introduce him, he is a managing director and corporate vice president for Novo Nordisk India business and based at Bangalore. He has a illustrious career spread across national and international countries, and he did his graduation from the university. After that, he graduated from Simba's Institute of International Business, followed by he has provided exceptional leadership to Novo Nordisk in various parts of the world. Before coming to India, his latest assignment was in Gulf. He was managing director and corporate vice president for Saudi Arabia. And he has won several accolades in his career, and one of the most prestigious being from the Danish government, the highest reward from there, His Royal Highness Prince Henrik's Medal of Excellence. With this, I hand over the session to Mr. Vikrant, who will share with us his insights. Thank you very much. Over to you.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot, Rajarshi. Thank you very much, Calcutta Management Association. Mr. Amitabh is also there. Mr. Raman is there. I think it is the time when medical companies as well as pharmaceutical and healthcare is talk of the town, from the houses to the governments all across the globe. And that is basically because of COVID. I myself represent actually a large pharmaceutical company from Denmark, which has got a global presence, headquartered in Copenhagen, but presence actually the world over. We are present in 170 countries with a turnover which is actually closer to 19 or 20 billion dollars. We have got more than 43,000 employees. But what gives us proud, or you can say a sense of pride, is that near to 30 million people across the world take our product. And just to give you a perspective, in India, that if a person is taking insulin, most likely every second person who takes insulin takes Novo Nordisk insulin. It is a company which is very, very progressive, accelerating very fast, and is trying to strive to find a solution for diabetes, what we call is defeat diabetes. It has got a leadership presence when it comes to diabetes, when it comes to growth hormone treatment, or even hemophilia treatment. We are actually the master of protein chemistry. I lead as managing director for the Indian affiliate and fighting the battle against diabetes along with my more than 1,400 colleagues across India, to see that if we can alleviate some of the pain which diabetes brings on the table when it comes to India. It is actually the turbulent time. I was out of India for 13 and a half years. It's only in the month of December I came back to India after my stint in Southeast Asia as well as in Middle East. And I just passed only 2 months when this COVID struck. My kids hardly started getting back to school, or you can say normal school. And we just settled ourselves in a house in Bangalore. But then this COVID came, and it really brought turbulence, not only actually at home, at a school, but also in business. This turbulence, and I'm very, very sure that you all can know, these are some of the things which we commonly used to do: shake hands, hug each other, eat the street food, be in the meetings, talk together, and find solutions for the problem, or having a progressive mindset for the growth in our organization. And what has actually happened is that today we are all at a distance. In fact, it is some kind of a positiveness because of COVID that I am actually talking, sitting in Bangalore, and it has become so easy in terms of talking to anyone that it doesn't require the travel. Hygiene, safety, being at home, being at distance, all this has taken precedence over anything in our life. Economy is today at the back seat, though it should be an area of concern when it comes to COVID. And this kind of a disruption has also been seen actually in the pharma industry. To give you a perspective of the pharma industry in India, and which probably can give it to you some kind of a concern when it comes to India for COVID, in India, we have got only 0.7 doctor per 1,000, whereas WHO recommends 1. Worldwide, we see actually 1.5 doctors per 1,000 population. We have got only 2 nurses per 1,000 population. Worldwide, it should be 6.5 nurses per 1,000. And you can see when it comes to the other perspective, beds, we have got only 27 beds per 1,000. And you can see where Japan and USA are. Public expenditure, I should say we are at a very low end against the GDP, which is 1.13% of the overall GDP. Just to give you a perspective that in US, healthcare expenditure is 20% of the GDP. I would not say that it should be at that particular level, but from 1.13, it is at such a low level, it should at least be 3 to 3.5% of the GDP. And that puts an area of concern, and which you all know that we don't have sufficient beds. Government is of course trying to do quite a lot in terms of ramping up the effort when it comes to number of beds, when it comes to nursing care, when it comes to testing, but still we are short of the number. COVID is really becoming an issue not only today, but probably even a year from now. And we do not know how long actually it is going to be there in our life. Pharma industry is actually 126, you can say, lakhs crore in terms of the revenue, growing by 10.6%, 9.5% is the growth. But you can see that it is such a crowded industry that we have got more than 600 companies in Indian pharma. Normally, if you go in any developed market, you will see 60 or 70 companies. You will see close to 4,000 to 5,000 brands. And in India, we have got 47,000 brands which are available there. Government is actually trying to again ramp up. You have heard about Ayushman Bharat. You have heard about, you can say, the small shops, the generic shops, which government is actually trying to come across India to provide economical solutions to the population. But this is not enough. What we require is much more higher effort to really take care of the healthcare actually in India. COVID has made us to stay home. Even the healthcare professionals, doctors were also staying home. What can they do? But hospitals were functioning. They were still treating in other areas, in emergency areas. We ourselves in healthcare industry, in pharmaceutical industry, we were also actually staying home. Work from home actually became a norm in this kind of an area. Field force engagement became a tough issue. Healthcare professional engagement became a very, very tough area, because how do you talk to the healthcare professional? How do you talk to them about the medication which can probably help them to control, in our area, so to say, diabetes or hemophilia or growth disorder? It became really very, very tough to do all those kind of a thing. You can also see that face-to-face consultation, what you can say is patient, started ramping up. The whole pharma industry, we could not able to estimate. We just can't estimate. If you can just now see, the estimate is the growth will be from 0.8% to 5.2%. And these are such a wide estimate actually in the pharma industry that probably one has to look at. We really do not know where we will really end when it comes to our commercial aspiration in the business. Challenges in supply chain, you know that there was a complete lockdown from 23rd March for at least 3 weeks. The entire logistics was taking a toll. We were actually having complaints about the availability of our medication. On the other hand, government wanted and they were aspiring for our medications to be available in nook and corner. And you know, we are in the field of diabetes. Diabetes have got some higher risk when it comes to COVID. Shops were not open completely. Pharmacies were open, but the timing of their openness or a timing when they were open was quite short. And this was actually putting quite a lot of, you can say, pressure when it comes to the leadership. But as somebody has said, do we really require leader when the things are normal? Then you just require managers to manage the show. It is a real character which comes out actually in the turbulent time that really reveals the true leadership. Leadership actually emerges when there are crises which are happening. And today, it was not leadership of management. It was leadership of not only management, leadership of aspiration, leadership of managing the entire show with coolness, with the calmness, to show that we can still move in the direction where we would like to actually move. I can say when it comes to leadership, normally, you will all talk about those big words: visionary, lead from the front. Leader is somebody who drives, who influences, who impact, who is a good negotiator, who actually engages, who communicates effectively, who has got a foresight, who is decisive, who is actually analytical, empathy, committed, or you can say who lead by example, who show and tell. The list is endless. Actually, the 16 character of the God should be also there in the leader, because leader is seen as an epitome to lead. But for me, all these things are actually given. But there are few critical things which are actually important when you talk about leadership in crisis. And one of the most important thing, which is actually very, very critical is, and I have named as noble management. It's the nobleness of the management. It is that openness. It is that trust. It is that humbleness. It is that coolness. It is that calmness. It is that understanding the other's perspective. It is that empathy. It is being in other shoes. It is understanding that employees cannot come. It is understanding that they are operating from their small homes. It is understanding that probably their network may not be so strong. It is understanding that their talk time on the mobile could be also very low. It is understanding that they are trying to work from an environment where their kids are also probably studying. It is understanding that things may not come out as they have been planned. That nobleness, this humbleness in terms of understanding the entire issue is so critical in emergency, probably 100 times more important than in the normal times. And as we say, when you think about this nobleness in management, of course, the first things actually which comes in mind is safety and security of the employees. Safety, that if your employees are safe, if you have the concern from them, they will still work. They will still be very productive. They will be still concerned about the outcome of their productivity. They will still come back when the COVID is no more there, and they will have multiple amount of passion to take your organization much more forward. While one can say safety and security, it can be just a lip service. But if you try to plan safety and security in terms of really the action plan, in Novo Nordisk, it was only one single day which we took us, and this is what is called as, you can say, the rapid response. We made a crisis response team. And the crisis response team actually from multiple functions in the department. It is not only from the management team, it is not only our medical director who is there or the legal director who is there to find out the work norm. It is also somebody representative from the women workforce. It is somebody from the field and somebody from the back office who is part of that crisis response team, the team should work out the work norms, should work out the safety norms for the employees. What is to do and what is not supposed to do. To provide the safety gates, to see that the next day there is a temperature monitoring at the gate. There is a restriction of the visitor. The food services are either stopped or are with the utmost hygiene. The hand sanitizers are placed at every gate. The mask is given to each and everybody. Safety and security, to see that the public transportation is probably not allowed. They should, if they are using the public transport, they are probably much more safer in their home. And this cannot be done if you do not break down and use the network of team. You can't just do with one team. You just have to make network of team, an internal network and an external network. You also need to see what other companies are actually doing, because your employees are going to benchmark you. Are you better than the others when it comes to the safety and security of the employee? I have seen it personally when we were being benchmarked by other companies, when we were 2 days late in terms of making work from home, and employees were really concerned. And I have an empathy towards that. So external benchmark, what other companies are doing, what are the government regulations saying, what is the legal network saying? And this is extremely important when it comes to safety and security, also preparing how team will come back when COVID is over, or when there is a slow coming back. 25% people will come, or 33% people will come back to office. How the field will work in the market? How are they going to go to the hospital? How are they going to talk to the doctors when it comes to pharma industry? So this is the most important thing, which is extremely important. It needs a clear plan. It needs the leveraging of the entire team. It needs communication. And sometimes I would call it, in this kind of a situation, something called as a turbulent time. Even the over communication is okay. But I would say effective communication one should not forget. It should be very pointed. It should be very clear. It should also be telling everything about the concern of the employee. And the second important part is the business continuity. The onus that we need to see that business should continue, because we have got a responsibility being in pharma industry, that business people who are dependent on insulin, who have got some extra risk when it comes to COVID, the mortality rate is higher. They should not be deprived of our essential medication when it comes to insulin. It should be widely available. It was a nightmare, let me tell you, when it came to Novo Nordisk, because we were not having the logistics supply. We were not having the porters. Our C&FA were closed. Our distributors were not ready to actually place the orders. They wanted extra credit. And let me tell you, for the response of the time, we gave the extra credit in the market because we wanted our products to reach actually in the market. We took some extra measures so that the loaders are available. We took some extra cost so that by logistics, the product should be available when it comes to the market. This is about the logistics cycle. But what about the customer engagement? We had to find out the ways and means actually to talk to the customer. That also became very, very important. And that brings me from the Novo leadership, in which safety and security and continuity of the business is resilience. How you can be resilient? Just imagine. I'm sure that I would have probably never got an opportunity to speak to any one of you. First of all, I would have to come to Calcutta. And for that, I have to take a flight. It would have been a full day affair, but today it is actually 1 hour. The resilience by which I have learned to operate by Zoom, to talk to you, to get connected. And I'm very sure all of you, many of you, this is the resilience in terms of your own skill. Resilience in terms of working. How are we going to work from home? How we are resilient in terms of connecting with our own employees? How are we resilient in terms of making sure that the messages reach actually to the customer? Are we resilient? Can we take a U-turn from our plans, which were really carved out in stone? Can we really do away with those plans and can rewrite overnight another plan? Can we draw our financial stability in the COVID time? How are we going to behave when it comes to overall top line and bottom line? How are we going to operate within the cost? So resilience in terms of the management we operate. And I would also say with resilience, which is a flexibility, a restraint, not to overdo it, not to just go overboard in terms of things. Yes, to adopt a few things, but also not to check the depth of the water with both the feet down in the river. It's a 1 feet. We are going to check it, but restrained even in our behavior physically, that we don't go out. We put the mask. We do the hygiene. We do not force employees to come. We restrain. We understand that they are operating from the home. It is possible that they might not pick up the call. So restraining our behavior in terms of expectation, in terms of returns from the market, in terms of behavior, both goes actually hand in hand when it comes to the market. And there I would say resilience, I've given some of the examples, which is remote detailing to HCPs. Overnight, our marketing came out that yes, I'm sure that all of you would have seen medical reps with a bag going to the doctors and talking to the doctors about our product. But today, our marketing came out the remote detailing to HCPs. In the digital world, the rep is going to talk to the doctor in a confined message like an advertisement which you see on TV for any of the product. Virtual peer-to-peer education. While we are doing a webinar now, I should tell you that Novo Nordisk probably started webinar 2 months, the moment the COVID strike actually, somewhere in the month of February, we started the webinar because we want that people should take insulin early, faster, because it is one of the surest way to actually get the control. And who are going to give that insulin to the patient? It's a doctor. How the doctor will give that? If the doctor is very well informed. So we did series of webinar actually utilizing all the platform. It was not only Zoom, it is not only Teams, it's not only GoToWebinar. I don't know how many. We converted literally each one of our rep, a technical enabler. Each rep of ours actually turned from a representative, medical representative, to I would say even IT technician, and could able to conduct the webinar. And that is what actually the U-turn in terms of the skill or resiliency which I am talking about. One of the things which is also emerging actually in the market is telemedicine. I'm very sure that probably none of you would have gone through the telemedicine, or maybe only one or two of you. But let me promise you all, take 6 more months, 10% of you will experience telemedicine. Some of your hospitals in Calcutta has already started telemedicine. It has started in Bangalore, it has started in Bombay, it has started in Delhi, it has started in Trivandrum. Something which was there in the world, in the developed market, UK, Denmark, Sweden, Canada, US. Let me tell you friends, it has also come in India. It was a topic of debate and discussion for 5 years. It was not seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. It took COVID only 1 week. Government regulation has come for telemedicine. And now people are talking about video medicine. Today, it is going to be very, very easy. At least your one visit, if you have got a stomach ache, you can just call up a doctor and doctor will prescribe you endoscopy. You don't have to go there. And the prescription goes. So the second visit, you are straight away going for an endoscopy. That is the benefit. Doctor can prescribe you the test. Somebody will come and collect the test medium from your home, your blood or urine, and will send you the result on internet, on your WhatsApp, or on your app, whichever app you are actually using. There are companies already overnight which has floated across in the market talking about telemedicine. You can call them the virtual nursing home. And they are not based anywhere. They are not based in Kolkata. They are not based in Delhi. They are based actually in the virtual world with 100 doctors sitting in actually one room serving thousands and millions of customers. And why not? India has got only 0.7 doctors per thousand. The only way India actually can treat patients in villages and districts is not by constructing the hospital in each village and district, but by creating and giving that internet service by which villagers can at least get some basic minimum treatment. While it may not be the foolproof solution, but it is actually a workable solution which most of the patients can actually do. Virtual patient visits, OPDs, is going to become the talk of the town, and I am not very much in doubt that many companies are actually going to come. Let me tell you, while I'm talking, I can share with you the data. There are already 550 or maybe 600 startups. Out of them, 200 funded by venture capitalists who are working in the healthcare field to really changing the game of the healthcare and of the treatment. And I'm very sure that your nearby doctor is also going to adopt some kind of online facility sooner or later. It's not going to happen soon, it's going to happen sometime later. This is something which is going to change the game, and I can just give you an example. While the entire pharma industry, if you go to the pharmacy, you will find there is a girder, only one person can go, there is a block which is there, and you will find that one by one the patient is treated. But let me tell you that online pharmacies, this is the data fresh from the oven, there is a growth of 27% from online pharmacy. They are growing like mad. The B2C model is increasing by leaps and bounds everywhere. It is becoming one of the most convenient form of getting medicine. While the role of those mom and pop shop nearby, outside of your house, outside of your flat, is not going to go away. They will have their own meaning. But on the other side, online pharmacy is just an example which I have shown that it is the emergence of digital world. Today is the time when your entertainment is actually happening at digital. You are actually getting entertained by Netflix. You are actually getting the news digitally. You are meeting your friends and relatives and also getting education by net. You are calling your family members on net. You are ordering by Swiggy on net. You are playing Ludo on net. Virtually, you are living inside your four walls. You are actually getting your grocery also on the phone or on the net. Your life is actually revolving around the mobile way, and it's not going to slow down. It's only going to revolutionize sooner or later in every field. And this is what is going to also there in the next healthcare. And this is something which brings me to the third topic, which I actually talk about from the noble medicine and so noble management. And I talked about, you can say, about the flexibility to now the peripheral vision. The peripheral vision is common. I don't think so anybody can be a leader without a vision. The leadership gets defined by the vision. Leadership gets defined of seeing something which people are not seeing, impossible to possible, which is somewhere in the cloud to make it visible. Something which is daydreaming to make a dream which is with an open eye. So that is something which is very common. And Rajarshi gave an example of Nelson Mandela or Martin Luther King or Gandhi. But another thing which is also very important is a peripheral vision. What is the next thing which is going to happen? The next thing which is knocking your door. And do you want to be the early adopter of that next thing? Can you see something which is coming from the side and may not knock you down? It is something which we call it from driving. If you do not have a peripheral vision, somebody coming from behind can hit you. You need to have that sense, who is coming from behind, who is coming from side, what are the things which are coming from side. And in pharma industry, I think I will fail in my duty if I do not understand the peripheral vision of changing the game, that probably my brick and mortar model, which is rep going to the doctor, pharmacy only selling the drugs, doctor only prescribing when the patient will come, I only operating out of the office, my sales meeting only happening in the 5-star hotel, all this is going to get changed. May not be 100%, but my peripheral vision says that's going to change at least by 25% just in 1 year's time. Do I have got technology? Do I have got the support system to embrace that technology, to embrace that peripheral things which are actually coming? Do I need to ramp up? Do I need to give a video camera to all my reps? Do I need a technical training on IT skills and networking to all my rep other than giving them the product knowledge? And that is what is peripheral vision in this changing time, which is extremely important when it comes to the business and when it comes to overall, what you call it, leadership in turbulent time. I talked about the noble management being resilient along with a bit of restraint, peripheral vision. But one thing which is also very important actually in the turbulent time is focus on result. We all know that processes are very important. And you all know that how multinational companies are very much respected of the processes, something which we can learn from the processes. We also know in Japan something called as a Six Sigma, process with the quality, process with the quality. But in this turbulent time, giving a freedom to the people in the ways and means they want to work within the given prescription limits by focusing on result. While they are in office, you can control that they are in an attire with a jacket like me today. But at home, they can be in t-shirt. I think in leadership, you should not be worried about. They may be talking on a mobile, probably when they are sitting on a chair somewhere relaxing. They may be trying to do and work out probably at night, because in the daytime, their student or their kid is actually studying and they have got a small house. The time can change for them in terms of working hours. The way and the mechanism can change. Their connectivity may be not that good. They may try to go and meet customer when they find time. And all those discipline of working in the office, to come at 9 o'clock, knocking at the door, to go at 5 o'clock in the office van, will change. We need to just focus actually on the result. We need to focus that result with business ethics and compliance. We don't need to really focus on small nitty-gritties, some of the things which do not matter. Focus on the things which actually matter, and that is what is going to be the order of the day in terms of my message which I am going to say. And last tip, before I come basically with a sermon, these are the things which actually I practice, is skill plus basic skill and digital enablement. I'm so enamored. Mr. Amitabh is there. Mr. Raman is there. And I can tell you, when I was talking to them, they are getting so adept on this technology, talking over Skype, talking over Teams, talking over Zoom, getting connected, making sure these kind of workshops or learning happens. And today is the time when no more people will ask, I need a CA, I need a doctor, I need a lawyer, I need an engineer, I need a teacher. Today, you cannot do teaching if you do not know how to operate computer, and not only computer, if you do not know the basic skills in networking, if you do not know the tools by which you can actually communicate, if you do not show and tell over digital world. And this is called as skill plus. I'm very sure many, you all are of different age group, but let me tell you youngsters that your parents in this COVID time has learned faster than you, because all of them have learned the art of video chatting. All of them have learned the art of being there on Twitter. You cannot imagine the kind of enrollment which has happened on Twitter and Facebook by the age group plus 50 during this COVID time actually has been mind-boggling. It is much more faster and rapid. And I'm so glad that a skill has become a skill plus. IT skill has become now basically the given skill. And I think this will become a subject which will go by default with any education in times to come. And lastly, I would say, and I've just put this graph, and this graph goes very well with the leadership. Leadership is actually about to lead, to do, to show and tell, to make a difference. And leadership cannot be defined by defying the normal, by breaking the normal, by showing something which didn't exist, by showing something which is unseen, by drawing something on a canvas which is blank. And that can only come if you are innovator, if not innovator, if you are an early adopter. An early adopter, I don't mean to say only in technology, in management practices, in terms of your expansion. Early adopter, if you see that what is going to be your financial revenue due to COVID, early adopter that COVID can create a havoc. Early adopter to understand and take decisions when enough data is not available. Leadership also gets defined by the decision-making ability. And decisions, let me tell you, never ever in life, no decision can be taken with the full information on the plate. You will always be lacking something. And that, how you can dare to take the decision with your experience, with your wisdom, and that decision which goes 51 times right and 49 times wrong is what my last message to you. Fail soon, succeed fast. You need to be right more. You need to be wrong less. But you need to fail soon, extremely fast. You need to succeed. There is no leader who will not fail, but to fail fast and learn from it is extremely important. When we did the webinar, we failed. Our tools were not right. Doctors called us. They said, you are a multinational company, #1 in diabetes, 150 billion market cap, the 50th largest market cap in the world, across all companies. Bigger market cap than this. But we failed. But then we learned. We learned the tool very fast. And today we are doing webinars one after another. And this is extremely important in leadership, to keep trying, to be a student for life. Leadership is not a position. It's not the corner, you can say, ivory tower, where you do not have a scope to learn something new. It is actually the playground. It is the playground where you create your own playbook, where you work with a playbook which is not written by somebody, which is written by you, because turbulent time is never defined. It is an undefined time. It's not there in the workbook. It is not there in the history. COVID is once in a lifetime episode. It is a crisis. It is a turbulent crisis. I don't think so. It has got a short-term effect. I personally feel it has got a very long-term effect, whether it comes on the personal life, whether it comes on the economy and social life. I think things are not going to change overnight. And I feel that some of these lessons are extremely important as a leadership for me, which I am practicing. And I thought I will take the liberty actually to share with all of you in terms of my life lesson in these 2 months of turbulent time. So thank you very much. Thank you very much, Calcutta Management Association, for giving me an opportunity. It is extremely good to participate here and share my thoughts. And now I am open for any kind of a question which you have got on whatever I have said.
Thank you, Mr. Vikrant, for your fantastic lecture that has opened a lot of good questions, interesting ones. To start with, I must tell you there is a question from Mr. Vibhu Nag, who says that, will the companies keep the prices of probable medicines or vaccine affordable for the masses? in this current COVID era when economy will go topsy-turvy?
Yeah, if you are talking about the future vaccine, which I cannot say, but you know that Government of India has appealed yesterday to the G20 nations that access to COVID vaccine should be equal rather than on the economic status. So first is access to COVID vaccine should be equal to all the countries rather than the developed countries taking the first right. Second is Government of India is also appealing on the affordability of that particular vaccine, that it should not be that it should be the price which normal population cannot afford. I don't think so. I have any clue about the pricing of that vaccine. I think only time will tell what is going to be the cost of that particular vaccine. But the first very important point is we all hope and pray that this vaccine should come early and faster in the market.
There is one more interesting question from Dr. Pinaki Ranjan Bhattacharya, who says that can a pharma company come out of missionary selling model to resilient marketing promotion? You have touched upon it. If you highlight a bit more on that.
Could you repeat the question? Sorry, I missed it.
Yeah. Can a pharma company come out of missionary selling model to a resilient marketing promotion? You have highlighted about it. I would request you to touch upon it once more.
Missionary model promotion in the sense I'm sorry, it's basically providing at a lower cost.
Yeah, he possibly means not only providing at lower cost, but with the way the medical promotion, medical reps does the promotion, the traditional way of promotion. How do we come out of it in this COVID era? That's possibly.
Yeah, I would say that probably the promotion missionary. Okay, now I'm getting the question. Actually, missionary is basically propagating the use of insulin across India so that the active use of insulin comes much more early and much more faster. Let me tell you, Dr. Pinaki, that we have never left in terms of, I would rather not say promotion, but I would rather say the advocacy for early insulin use much more stronger and heavier. And we are actually going in, you can say, mass media. We are going in the doctors area with a series of webinars where thousands of doctors are also attending to talk about the early use of insulin. We are also going into the mass media to also communicate to the patients that please do not discontinue, because sometimes we feel that the patient also discontinue insulin because it is injectable. Do not discontinue their medication, even if it is tablet, because the most important thing is to being in control when it comes to blood sugar level. So yes, the entire campaign for talking about insulin, we have not able to gauge that whether we have increased more or whether we have decreased more, but the model has definitely changed. We are taking and adopting the help of lot of webinars with the help of what we call it the thought leaders in the field of diabetes. They are actually talking about insulinization, use of insulin, and there are thousands of doctors who are listening to them, hopefully, and we are also seeing some sign of success. Hopefully, doctors are prescribing insulin and are retaining the patients more on insulin. So it has not come to the stage of complete missionary, because the entire fervor and the passion of the missionary is completely different. It is basically on the feet, on the ground, going into the villages. Probably we do not have that kind of a muscle, but we are 1,500 people. So we only cover, you can say 40,000 doctors, but you know that there are 800,000 doctors across India. We would love to get in touch with them, and probably one day, hopefully, we will get the access to them to talk about insulinization.
One more very interesting question, and that is very much relevant in the current situation. That is, how do the overdependence of Indian pharma companies on China can reduce when it comes to bulk drug manufacturing?
I would say this is one area of, you can say, pride which we all have got. Though I'm working for multinational, but I've got a huge pride of pharma industry in India. It is something called as Make in India. And let me tell you that Indian pharma industry is one of the largest pharma industry when it comes to volume supply of the drug, in terms of number of tablets, active ingredients, as in the formulation. Even in active ingredient, Indian pharma industry is probably, if not stronger, equal to China. But yes, you have heard in newspapers, some of the active ingredients do come from China, some of the active ingredients do go from China, some come from Korea. So there are various manufacturers across the globe. But I have to tell you that when it comes to pharmaceutical industry, no way India is smaller than China. In fact, if at all, I think US FDA has got only offices outside of the US, only in India, because the bulk drug exports from India is extremely strong. Our export business of pharmaceutical industry, in fact, is as big as domestic industry. Can you imagine? We are 1.3 billion people. Our domestic business and export business of pharma is as big as the domestic business. So I think the Indian companies have really, really done quite a wonderful job when it comes to pharma industry.
I'll request you to switch off your slide so that we can see you properly. Yeah.
Okay.
There is one more interesting question that how do the pharma companies open up the career for many of the young viewers here who are students here? And it's a common question which is in their mind, because as the post-COVID area, we see that many companies shutting down, cutting off the operations, cutting down the count their working force. So in that era, will pharma companies be an alternative options for career?
Yeah. And there I would say that, like, for example, in our company, Novo Nordisk, one thing which we were very, very clear is COVID will not be the reason for any layoff. And we have not done it, a single layoff because of the COVID. And that's basically because to build the bridge of trust and confidence among the employees, that we seen it as a transient phase. It is not a permanent phase when it comes to the business. The second important part is probably one of the silver lining in the business today, standing tall, is only in the pharma industry and some of the, you can say, essentials in terms of eatables business, which is actually there in the space. Pharma industry, though, has got affected, but probably much more resilient when it comes to COVID, because patients have become much more careful in terms of taking their treatment on time, and people are not compromising on their medication when it comes to hypertension, when it comes to oncology, when it comes to diabetes, when it comes to respiratory. And lastly, I would say, I think pharma industry is going to grow from here, because I'm very sure that even the developed countries have realized that they have got a lot to do in strengthening their healthcare infrastructure. And you have seen the snippets of Germany, or you have seen in Spain, how the healthcare actually really crumbled. The beds were not available for COVID patient, and India, with not so strong infrastructure, has also realized that Jan Aushadhi and Ayushman Bharat probably need to strengthen manifold. And that means a lot more investment from the government is going to come in infrastructure, in diagnosis, in treatment, in medication. And I think pharma industry is going to get benefited. So to the young crowd, I would say that pharma industry is probably one of the industry which my gut feeling says is continue to going to hire, and we have not stopped hiring actually from the expansion point of view. I'm sure that many other pharma companies are also looking for expansion, given the kind of outlook which we see from the government in terms of investment in healthcare. So there is a bright spot when it comes to healthcare industry, but that is for the good for taking care of the citizen in terms of health.
One question which relates to what we have done in the recent time of trying to reach out to more number of patients, where there's a question that when we expect the purchasing power to come down, how will the MNCs who are into pharma will react?
I would say that yes, there is a purchasing power which has actually come down into the market. And I would only say that, for example, we responded for one of our medications, we actually reduced the price by 30%. So it has become affordable by 30%. So we cut 30% of our price for making the patients much more accessible, our new generation medication. And like that, we took a call in this kind of a turbulent time. But I would say that for every kind of a treatment in India, there is a bandwidth. At lower end of the spectrum, the basic treatment is always available, which is affordable and which is reasonably good. And then there is a treatment which is available, which is better, but maybe costly. It is the same like in Kolkata, that there is a nursing home which probably is cost effective, and then there is a big hospital which is much more costly. And similarly, when you go to the costly hospital, you have got a room which is available for 2,000 rupees, 4,000 rupees, 6,000 rupees, and 10,000 rupees. So I would say, like in Novo Nordisk, we have got a treatment which is available, which is as economical as possible, could be much more even economical than the tablet for insulin. And we have got also a treatment which is available, which is better, but also a bit more expensive for the patient. So I think India is one of the classic country where all kinds of treatment are available when it comes to the treatment of specific ailment. At least in diabetes, I can say that I hope that a lot of patients can afford the treatment which is available.
Thank you. And this was raised by Mr. Shubhashish. I would like to refer to him that if he Google, he will find out that even Clinton Foundation, which had worked a lot for the AIDS patient in Africa, have said, Mr. Bill Clinton, the ex-president of USA, that had there been no CIPLA, possibly millions of patients would have died out of this disease because they made it so affordable. There's one more interesting question on insulin. Mr. Shomin Basu, he asked that, are we in the process of manufacturing insulin that need to be taken once in a month or a year or a lifetime?
We are actually working on once in a week, and that is already, just getting concluded in the phase 2. So we are actually working out a insulin probably which can be possibly taken in once in a week. And we are talking about a lot of things, gene therapy, stem cell therapy. We are talking about, our mission is actually defeat diabetes. We want to go out of the business. But the only wish is we go out of the business by our own laboratories. We find out a solution for diabetes. Our utopia is that it should come from our laboratories. We should kill our own business. So hopefully, I think there are good chances if any solution of once in a week will come, I think that should come from Novo Nordisk laboratories. But there are other companies who are also working.
Fine, this would be the last question to you, which is very interesting, that in India, still internet is inaccessible to most of the rural areas. And a person who wants to order medicine, in such a case, how will it be possible for him?
Can you repeat again? Sorry.
Yeah, in India, internet is still inaccessible in many of the rural areas. So how a person who can order medicine in such a case, if the offline order will go away?
And that is always a bone of contention. But if at all any insulin which can be present in the ruralest of the area, let me tell you with the pride that we have got close to 3 million patients actually in India. And possibly if our insulin is not available, then it is extremely difficult that what is going to be available there. So we are available in nook and corner across India, and it is the reach. It is not only the depth at which we are available, it is the width at which we are available across India is quite nice. But internet is just taking off. I'm not saying that the entire shift has happened, But what I actually showed is that there is a 27% growth in internet-based ordering. The brick and mortar model, the nearby pharmacy is not going to go away soon. They have a place, they have a very important place today in India. They will continue to play that part very strongly. But there is also a rapid shift which is happening on the internet based model. The question that in the villages it is not available, I would leave it to the likes of Airtel and Jio. They multiplied the reach of internet many times across India. And I'm very sure that with this COVID, that reach is multiplying further faster. I would be surprised that probably sometime from now, there is no internet available actually in a village. There would be somebody with the internet. There may not be a hospital, there may not be a doctor, but not to have somebody with an internet or not to have somebody with a 3G probably is very difficult. It would be something somewhere extreme remote that this is not going to happen.
This will be the last question, where someone says that you have shown 1 lakh, 1,26725 crore is the size of the Indian farm industry, which is growing by 10.6%. How do you visualize the future for this industry in the next coming 4 or 5 years?
I think Indian pharma is going to continue at a very, very high speed. I don't know whether you are aware or not in terms of the volume. It is the third largest pharma industry volume, but in terms of the value, it becomes really, maybe near to the 10th largest or 12th largest. So it is basically losing out the space because in India there are a lot of affordable medicine. Government has really done a good job in terms of making a lot of affordable medicine across India. I think given the kind of awareness which is happening, given the kind of small penetration in healthcare, as I showed, 1.13% penetration of GDP, and when I say that normally it should be 4% penetration, you yourself know that it has got a play of many times multiplication. It is very easy to say to from my side. It is difficult to grow. I think we all need to work towards to making the access of this healthcare of our products to these masses. We need to have more advocacy for a better health, whether it is hypertension, whether it is cardiac health, whether it is oncology, respiratory, diabetes, and whatnot. I think Indian pharma for years together, I would not say 1 decade, at least for 2 decades, will continue to grow in a very strong way to multiply from here. And I don't have any doubt on this.
Thank you very much for your sharing your enlightening thoughts with all of us here. And it was really wonderful to moderate your session. Without wasting further time, I would like to request Mr. Amitabh Datta, who is the President of Calcutta Management Association, to share his viewpoints and his concluding remark.
Well, thank you, Vikas, very much for an excellent presentation. I think it has given us a very good idea about how the Indian pharmaceutical industry and the Indian healthcare industry is heading. This bit about the telemedicine is particularly relevant in today's context, and I think the COVID or the problems posed by COVID will also drive telemedicine to a very large extent. Because as of today, in fact, there's a question which possibly wouldn't have answered, is that one of the gentlemen asked whether how does he get a dentist during these times, because most of the dentist clinics are closed and all that. So that is true for most of us. I mean, most of us would not like to go to a hospital because the chances of contracting the COVID illness is pretty high if you go there. So therefore, telemedicine, and I think you're absolutely right, telemedicine is really going to expand. Number two, there were a lot of questions about the spread of how would the people in the rural areas. In fact, we currently have one of the largest, I think I was seeing somewhere that the penetration of the internet is actually, in terms of sheer numbers, is more in the rural areas than the urban areas. And courtesy the smartphones and the low cost of smartphones, people can actually access the internet through their phones, and so that's also happening. So it's just a question of, I mean, for example, even this telemedicine, people like us who are reasonably informed did not know about the existence of telemedicine till some time back. So it's a question of people coming to know, and once people know, they will start using telemedicine, ordering medicine online, etc. So that's going to happen. But thank you very much, and I think it's been a very interesting talk, and especially understanding the leadership nuances in the pharmaceutical industry and the way it works, and especially since you have worked in pharmaceutical companies in a lot of countries in Southeast Asia, in the Middle East, etc., you brought in a different perspective. Well, thank you very much, Vikas, once again. And we look forward to having you again with us sometime or the other in Calcutta when we have one of our other programs. Thank you very much. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being with us today. And I'm sure you'll be there tomorrow when we have a session. Two people who are, pretty well known in the city of Calcutta, one being Jimmy Tangri and the other being Mir, talking to each other about life during the present crisis. So I'm sure you'll be there, and you'll also be there at the future programs of the Calcutta Management Association. Thank you very much once again. Good night.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. See you.